Before Modern Horizons brought Urza into the game as the de facto mono blue busted artifact commander, we had him. Arcum Dagsson is a 4-mana 2/2 human artificer that can tap to have target players sacrifice an artifact and then search their library for a non-creature artifact and put it into play. But the pushed ability on Arcum isn't what I want to talk about today. So throughout all the years of playing Arcum Dagsson in my Brea EDH deck, because, well, I'm a bad person, I never really questioned his lore too much, and then I just started noticing quotes in names or flavor text mentioning or attributed to him everywhere I looked. Mishra's Bauble, Icy Manipulator, Naturalize, Stone Rain, and most notably from Modern Horizons, Arcum's Astrolabe. So I did a search, and it turns out Arcum's name actually appears on 31 different cards in either name or flavor text. So noticing this made me wonder why I'd never really heard any lore about Arcum Dagsson at all, really. So I did some more digging and found this article called Soldev, the sort of untold story, which led me down a several day-long rabbit hole of adjacent Ice Age stories. So long introductions aside, Arcum's story takes place in a city called Soldev in the kingdom of Keldor on Dominaria, where he was a researcher during the Ice Age, which was, well, it was an Ice Age. Everything was frozen, it was cold as shit, not really a good time for most people. So this Ice Age was the direct result of an event called the Silex Blast, which was caused by a powerful artifact during the Brothers' War, which kind of fucked a large portion of the plane up. Good job, Urza. So this civilization, the Soldevi, is made up largely by machinists whose primary focus at the time was studying the artifacts that were left over and recovered from the Brothers' War. And many of these researchers actually created their own machines, taking influence from many of the Phyrexian designs. I'm sure you can already see where this is going if you're familiar with the Phyrexians in any capacity. Anyway, so Arcum and the Soldevi researchers start digging up literal war machines and sleds, I guess. So while Arcum is rebuilding these
weapons of mass destruction
as a means to protect and aid the kingdom of Keldor, there's this group of people called the Soldevi Adnates who have formed that are basically the cybergoths of Soldev. The Adnates were a cult-like group of machine worshippers and are basically in support of Phyrexia. We'll get back to them in a bit. So while Arcum is off doing all this, there's a guy named Soreen Relicbane who's understandably a little sussed out about some of the things Arcum is doing. He's essentially arguing that enough attention isn't being paid to the results themselves of these machines the first time they were used, which is like a super reasonable point to be concerned about. If I learned anything at all from John Carpenter's The Thing, it's that scary shit stuck in ice should probably stay stuck in ice. So when Arcum has these concerns brought to him, he essentially tries to gaslight, gatekeep, girlboss his way out of thinking more about what he's actually doing. So he's like, no, look at this pendant. You really think this is dangerous? You're being hysterical. And Soreen's just like, yeah, that's cute. I was more worried about the skull catapult and steam beasts that you're building there. So Arcum fucks off for a while and eventually has a moment of self-reflection and thinks to himself, like, what if some of these creations may be too powerful for us to actually control? Before he immediately just settles on, nah, Soreen's just insane. Which, like, it's pretty obvious that that's not the case at all. Soreen is literally quoted as saying, "Do not call up which cannot be put down. Destroy what destroyed us so long ago." So really, Soreen is just kind of the voice of reason throughout this entire story. To jump back in time a bit before all of this happened with the Soldevi, there was a super powerful wizard named Mayor Sill, who was notoriously just kind of a power-hungry dickhead. Not really a chill guy at all. Not to get too off track with this tangent, long story short, Mayor Sill eventually dies, but manages to basically imbue his spirit into a ruby ring. This ring was eventually found by a man named Limdul. Again, there's a ton of Limdul backstory that we're skipping over for this video, but he essentially sieged a battle against the kingdom of Keldor and was killed in the aftermath of one of those battles. And in the process, he had one of his hands cut off before Mayor Sill could really take control of him. So the planeswalker Jai Ballard finds this severed hand and kept it as a sort of battle trophy to bring to her friend Joda. So Jaya eventually dons the ring without realizing it had Maresil's spirit in it, and Maresil from inside the ring spent the next decade or so just slowly corrupting Jaya's mind. So jumping back to the time of Arcum and Sorin, they're both still essentially just bickering back and forth about whether or not this research and creating this is good or bad. There's like an insane amount of flavor text of just them going back and forth. So after significant progress is made with unearthing and creating these super dangerous artificial beasts, Jaya, who is still being corrupted by Maresil, and Joda, who she has been working with to help find the missing ring from the hand that she brought Joda, head to the vault of the Adnates and Soldev. It's somewhere around this point that Joda starts really noticing that Jaya has been acting a little off lately, and then at the vault realizes that she's had the ring on this whole time. So Jaya immediately slits Joda's throat and uses his blood to essentially reawaken all of the Phyrexian war beasts that were being kept in this vault. In this process, Joda manages to somehow save himself, and Jaya's Planeswalker Spark ignites. That's a whole other story. So the newly awakened Phyrexian beasts began to corrupt Arcum's steam beasts, and they completely destroy the city of Soldev. One of my favorite little pieces of flavor text in all of this is at the very end of this whole ordeal, poor Sorin Relic Bane is quoted as saying, "In the arms of tragedy, there's little comfort in being right." So that's it for Arcum and the Soldev. I had no idea any of this existed, and maybe neither did you. So hopefully, if you did know the story, at least you found it moderately interesting. If you didn't, hopefully you learned something. I've never been in front of a camera like this before. I've never done a lore video. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments if you want to see more. Yeah, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, and have a good one.